Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. We are live. We are live right now. We have 81 participants. There will be some lag on the stream. So if you are in the stream, I'm going to post this link into chat. If you want to connect to the trivia session, I'm going to paste the link into chat right there. You can join the session live in there. And as soon as we have everybody joined, we're going to start with the trivia. We're going to start with our first Marko's Trivia Night. Today we're going to have Cloud Practitioner. 40 questions. 40 questions. We have 83 participants here. So it's going to be really, really fun. Remember, if you don't know the answer, just click something. If you get it right, the fastest question, the fastest response to each question will win the most points. Well, nothing else to say. Let's get started. Let's get started with our first question in 3, 2, 1. What is the best description of an AWS region? The physical location of a single data center, multiple isolated and physically separate availability zones within a geographical area, a combination of the two availability zones. You have it's a very short response clock. It's 20 seconds. Make sure if you're watching this live that you go to the link I pasted into chat. There we go, 5 correct answers. It's the first question. There are multiple isolated, physically separate availability zones within a geographical area. That is a region, and a region will have potentially multiple AWS data centers tied into multiple availability zones. Yes, yes. All right, let's see our first leaderboard. Joe Malone. Very quick response. 916 means that you responded probably in the first few seconds. Keen Learner, 783. Sergeant Pepper number 3, 766. Lucky with 683 points. And Mighty Jag with 549. Make sure everyone to go to the link that I pasted into chat so that we have everybody competing. We're going to wait just a few minutes to ensure that the lag between the live stream that we have on YouTube and on LinkedIn catches up with the current status. I wanted to get the first question out just as a sample, but yeah, let's go to our next question. We are now essentially caught up. Next question, 4, 3, 2, 1. The default view for the AWS Management Console displays all resources in all regions. True or false? 4 responses. 6. 17, 16 seconds remaining. 7 responses. 8 responses. 9. True and false, 50-50. It is false. It's not all resources in all regions. The default view actually has a selector for the region on top. So this is a false response. The beauty of the Management Console is that we can go to the selected region where we want to store our data, where we want to comply, where we want to do all of these activities. Yeah. All right, next question. How many availability zones at least make up an AWS region? What's the minimum? 1, 2, 3, or 10 availability zones? 9 responses already. 10 responses. 10 responses. Come on, people. 11 now. Okay, this is the kind of quiz you have to be there. It is three, sorry. 2 regions was the top answer, but it's incorrect. We now ensure that all regions have at least 3 availability zones. At least 3 availability zones in a region. Next question. By default, a user-created AMI is available in all AWS regions. True or false? 3 responses, 4 responses, 6, 7, 8. Come on, everybody. We need more responses. Let's go. We have 10. 11 responses. And there we go. The AMI is regional. The AMI is regional. So the way we have to think of regions is they are areas where we want to comply with, number one, with laws, local laws that say, hey, your user's data needs to be stored in this country, in this state, in this province, in this region. And that's the idea where you want to make sure that when you're storing your data, if it's a document, if it's a whole Amazon machine image, an AMI, that it is compliant with those laws. That's number one. If I have citizens from the US, I'll have to store their data in the US. If I have citizens from Singapore, I'll have to store their data in Singapore. Same goes for EU with the GDPR. Same goes for India with the new residency law that was data residency law that was released recently. So that's the key here. And AMIs fall under that same law. And then obviously we want to also look at things like pricing. We want to look at service availability for each region. We want to look at where our customers are. I want to be in proximity to the customers. If, for example, we take the US, we've got four different regions, 2 on the East Coast, 2 on the West Coast. If the majority of my customers are on the East Coast, I'm going to go for the East Coast regions. I'm not going to use the West Coast regions. It'd be unlikely favorable for me. All right, let's take a look at the leaderboard now. After a few more questions, Keen Learner on top, number 1, Sergeant Pepper number 3. Both of you in the 2600s. That is good scores, good scores. Fisher 2500, Joe Malone 1700, Bramazon 1600, Lucky also in 6th place with 1600, and so is Sky Purple Cloud India House. Mo, Jose, and Cloudnundrum. I love that one. Cloudnundrum. It's a conundrum of the cloud. All right, next question. Which AWS service allows 2 Linux applications running in different AZs to share a common file system? Would it be Elastic File System, EFS? Would it be Elastic Block Storage, EBS? Would it be Amazon Simple Storage Service, S3? 8 responses already. Yes, Roy, that got updated. That has been a change. So Roy has a question in chat. Were there always 3 availability zones? There used to be 2. But this got recently updated. There's a new standard. There will be, for each region that we release, there will be by default at least 3 availability zones always. Yeah. That is a new thing for sure. And the answer for this one, the EFS, the file system. Now, I'm going to agree with all of you who chose S3. There is a file system driver for S3 as well. However, S3 is not really intended to be a file system. If you have a lot of usage through the S3 file system driver, you will see that the actual requests will be sky high. So make sure that you use it only in the right circumstances. Elastic File System is great because it doesn't have any additional overhead for request pricing, so it makes it super suitable for the 2 Linux applications running in different AZs. Next question. Which location option can be selected when launching an EC2 instance in a region? A bucket, an availability zone, a transit gateway, or a container? Eight responses, 9 responses, 10. 10 responses. Let's go, people. 11 responses, 12. 12 responses. Availability zone is the right selection when launching an EC2 instance. Perfect. Now let's check the leaderboard after this question. Ooh, keen learner. Keen. Wow, you are leading the pack, but only closely followed by Sergeant Pepper number 3 and Fisher. You are all very, very close. This is basically seconds apart. Sky Purple in the house. There you go. Sky Purple in the house. 3,400 points. That's still a very, very solid. Anything in the 3,000s is very solid. Anything in the 2000s, I assume that you haven't been answering all of the questions from the start, but hey, people will get questions wrong, so let's do this. Next question. A VPC can be peered across AWS region with another VPC, obviously. Can we peer across regions, or is it only tied to one region? 10 responses, true or false? 11, 12 responses. All right. Twelve responses on this one. True, yes, peering does work across regions. And when you do peer two VPCs together, they will be completely private. So the communication will be private between those VPCs, even if they're sitting in two different regions. It uses the global backbone, the AWS global backbone, which is a set of fiber connections that connect all regions across the globe privately. So yes, it is possible. It is possible. Next question. Which resource acts as a virtual firewall that controls the traffic for one or more instances? The VPC, security groups, the network access control list. Virtual firewall that controls the traffic to one or more instances. One or more instances is the question. Let's see. Yes, security groups is the correct response. Now, there is another virtual firewall in here, and it's network access control lists. But network access control lists are not controlling traffic to one or more instances. They control traffic to one or more subnets inside of your VPC. So think of network access control lists as a subnet barrier, and security groups as a little virtual firewall that actually sits on the connection between the VPC and your instance. There's a little adapter called an ENI, Elastic Network Interface, that sits right between your instance and the VPC, and inside of that ENI is where the virtual firewall that uses security groups is actually running. So it is in between your instance and in between the network. So it's the last sort of line of defense before your operating system. Obviously, inside your operating system, you're going to deploy firewalls, you're going to deploy any kind of intrusion prevention or any other security devices, services that you need to, but security groups are the last line of defense between the VPC, between the network traffic and your operating system. Next question. There is no charge for inbound data from the internet into AWS, true or false? There is no inbound data charge for anything we store inside of AWS. Is there a charge, true or false? Is there no charge? True would be there is no charge. False would be yes, there is a charge for inbound data. 13 responses, that's the highest we've gone so far. 13 responses. Yes, it is true. There is no charge. There is an outbound charge for some services, but anything we store inside of AWS does not carry a cost at all. I'm just realizing now that the speed at which the person answers seems to also impact the score. Yes, Brandon, it is tied to the speed. So the fastest responses get the most points. Keen learner has been really coming out on top here. Fisher closely behind Keen learner, and Mo was all the way at the bottom for some time, and now Mo in third place. Whoa, what a crazy set of moves happening here in this event. Sergeant Pepper in fourth place, Sky Purple in fifth, Lucky followed by Bramazon Joe, Cloud Nundrum, and Jose Morales joins the leaderboard at this point. All right, let's go with the next question. What is the maximum number of objects that an Amazon S3 bucket can store? 1 million, 100 billion, 1 trillion, or there is no limit? How many objects can we store in an S3 bucket? The number of objects. Whew. 14 responses, yay! Haha. I guess anybody who was a little late is joining now. We still have 30 questions to go. Even if you're late, you're good. There is no limit. In the maximum number of objects. 12 responses correct. You can store 1 million, 1 trillion, a quadrillion, quintillion, sextillion, septillion, octillion, nonillion, decadillion objects if you want to. There is no upper limit. And let's check the leaderboard again now that we're at 10. Keen Learner up ahead, 8,300 points. Fisher in second place, 8,100 points, closely following Keen. This is just a seconds. You guys are seconds apart. Mo in third place, congratulations. Sergeant Pepper closely behind Mo, as well as Sky Purple and Lucky. And then trailing a little bit more behind the rest of the pack. Yes, the video stream does have a big delay. We cannot do anything about that. Sorry, Jose. There is a link right in the video stream, and I will link it again. If I can. So basically, let me grab that for you. If you want to join the live portion of the session, it is going to be on this link right there. So essentially what you need to do is you need to look at the live portion as it happens. This is the first time I'm trying this, so obviously not everything will be super accurate. I'm thinking that next time what we'll do is we'll actually host a live session, a WebEx session or something similar. Currently, that was not possible. The only way I could deliver this was through a stream, but in the future, and I'm going to try to do this weekly. To be perfectly honest, I think this is super fun. I think if we get 15 people like right now who are answering, responding, and we do a live session, I think it'll be super cool. I think it'll be super cool. We'll see how we lead these, how I set these up in the future. But yeah, this is an experiment. You all are part of an experiment. Thank you for allowing me to experiment on you. Thank you so much. All right, next question. We have 30 more questions. The victory is up for grabs. When a load balancer detects an unhealthy target, it stops routing traffic to the target even when the target becomes healthy again. True or false? All right, a load balancer will stop routing traffic to the target even when the target becomes healthy again. So that is not true. It will start routing back when the target becomes healthy. the health check is there so that we can repair the instance, put it back into service, and then the load balance sees, oh, the target's healthy now, and continues running traffic towards that instance. Next question, how can an Amazon S3 bucket owner grant public access to a bucket when configuring it for website hosting? S3 buckets are publicly accessible by default. Enabling website hosting on S3 bucket enables public access by default. S3 bucket owner can create a bucket policy. How can an owner grant public access to a bucket when configuring it for website hosting? Exactly. So none of the buckets are public by default. We actually have a setting now that prevents buckets from anyone making them public, and then you have to change that configuration to sort of allow policies or access control lists on those buckets. The idea is to prevent sort of accidental exposure of buckets to the internet. But if you go and uncheck all of those settings, or if you go through a command line and change those settings to false, then you can add a bucket policy, and only once you add a bucket policy are you be able to make the bucket public as well. All right, next question. Question number 13. Volume and EBS in Elastic Block Store are automatically replicated within an availability zone. True or false? Are they replicated within one availability zone? That is not a commonly known fact. That is not a commonly known fact. So I really am looking forward to seeing what the responses are on this one. Looking forward to seeing what the responses are on this one. True, they are. You do get 2 copies. You do get 2 copies of Elastic Block Store in an availability zone. It is internally done. We don't see any visible replication. It is basically a redundant array of independent disk drives, RAID configuration, mirror RAID 1. So any disk drive that exists and runs EBS, there will be a redundant disk drive that is mirrored. So we do have a replica inside of an availability zone, which allows those volumes to have the service layer availability of, I think, 4 nines. But yeah, if we want more, then we have to replicate them across multiple availability zones, create snapshots, or perform other custom replication as well. Which AWS service provides object storage and is built to store and retrieve any amount of data from anywhere on the internet? EBS, SNS, S3, or EC2? It is a service. We can always build a service like that, but it's already there. It's already there. 14 responses. Yes, S3. EC2 is kind of correct because I could build my object storage solution on EC2, but I have to build it. Whereas S3, it's there, it's out, it's by default. You can use it right away. And let's go to question 15. Question 15. Which AWS service is a key value and document database that delivers single-digit millisecond performance at any scale? RDS, Route 53, DynamoDB, or Aurora? Single-digit millisecond performance at any scale. That means even if I have millions of requests per second, I still get my database contents within 5, 3, 1 millisecond, single digit. Less than 10 milliseconds would be the right way to describe this. And that's a clear winner for DynamoDB. Clear winner for DynamoDB. All right, we're 15 questions in. Let's check the leaderboard. Let us check the leaderboard. Keen Learner. Wow, Keen Learner totally taking off into another category. Mo now in second place. Mo, the rising star, the shining rising star, started in 10th place and now is in second place. Fisher dropping 1 to third place. But Fisher and Mo, there's a battle there. You are milliseconds apart in your response times. Lucky, Sgt. Pepper, Cloud Nundrum, Ramazon, Mighty Jag, Sky Purple, and Joe Malone are the rest of our leaderboard. Our leaders. Okay, let's go with the next question. We still have 25 questions to go, everybody. We have 25 questions to go. Which Amazon EC2 pricing model adjusts based on supply and demand of EC2 instances on demand, reserved, spot, or convertible reserved instances? Supply and demand. It's a marketplace like the stock market. And you can buy instances. You can buy instances on the spot. Spot instances, yes. Spot instances is essentially all of available EC2 capacity in every region that nobody's using right now. As you can imagine, when you build a data center, you need to have some spare capacity for scaling, for spikes, for traffic. When traffic increases, customers will want to scale out. And when demand is low, let's say overnight, there's no scaling, the spot market will have a lot of EC2 capacity available. And then the price is low. And then during the day, when there's a lot of users, the price might go up on the spot market because there's less of a spot market available for use by others. As you can imagine, with millions of EC2 instances around the globe, there's potentially also hundreds of thousands or even millions available in the spot market at any point in time. This is spread across all the different several hundred instance types that exist right now. So yeah, spot instances are a really cool way to save up to 90% on your compute costs. If, of course, you can deal with the drawback of spot instances. And the only real drawback is if the market gets saturated, if the actual spot capacity is reducing, and if it reduces quickly, you'll get a 2-minute notification saying, hey, your spot instance will be terminated to make place for somebody who's running on demand, somebody who's scaling some reserved instances that need that capacity itself. And if with a 2-minute warning, you can do a lot. But the up to 90% savings is the real reason why you want to use spot instances. All right, next question. Which format are Amazon S3 bucket policies and IAM policies written in? JSON, HTML, CSV, or XML? What is the right answer here? "14 responses. I think we had 15 responses on one at some point. "15 responses now. Yes, 15 responses. Jason, everybody got that one correctly. Everybody got that one correctly. Congratulations. This is the first question that everybody got correctly. That's great. That's great. JSON is the standard format. JavaScript object notation, if anybody wondering what JSON stands for. And next question. By default, RDS will retain a backup of a database instance for a period of 7 days. True or false? Is a default backup of 7 days built into RDS is the question. Ooh, lots of responses, 14, 15 responses. I think that we have 15 active players right now. I can't really see the management dashboard. I got all these streaming stuff set up on my screens, but that looks like it's everybody. True, it is true. By default, when we build an instance, 7 days retention is enabled. We can turn it off. You can turn off retention by setting the number of days to 0. You can set that as well. And let's do 2 more questions and then we'll reveal the leaderboard at the 20th question. What do application load balancers use to verify the traffic should be sent to a target? A security group, a health check, a scaling policy, or a subnet. And that first response was basically in the first second. And I think I know that there's a keen learner that responds and clicks on the correct answer within the first second. And I admire that. That is dedication, sir or madam. Health check. Like we said before, when the load balancer is sending traffic, it's looking at the instance, it looks at the health check and validates whether to send traffic to the instance. Let's do 1 more question and then we'll reveal the leaderboard again. Which statement regarding auto-scaling and load balancing is true? Auto-scaling group can use only one availability zone at a time. Auto-scaling groups must be independently of load balancers. Used independently of load balancers. A load balancer will load traffic to all targets no matter which availability zone the targets are in. Load balancers must use the same security group as the instances behind it. Which is true? Ooh, that's a tough one. This is a tough one. A load balancer will route traffic to all targets no matter which availability zone the targets are in. That is called cross availability zone load balancing. And that is a feature of a load balancer. You can use any number of availability zones you want. So the first response with the giraffe is incorrect. The ducky response, auto-scaling groups must be used independently of load balancers, is not true. We do attach auto-scaling groups to load balancers. So as soon as instances get healthy, load balancer can recognize that the group has scaled out and starts sending traffic to those healthy instances. And load balancers can have different security groups from the instances behind them. All right, we're halfway through our quiz. And keen learner, 1,400 points. Mo in second place, trailing slightly behind, and Sergeant Pepper has moved up again into third place. Sergeant Pepper has moved up into third place. Yes, that load balancer question does need some extra reading. Followed by Fisher, Lucky, Bramazon, Cloud Nundrum, Sky, Jose, and Mighty Jag. Let's go. Next question. A security group was configured with a rule to allow HTTPS traffic to an instance. What will happen if an HTTP connection is attempted? The security group will allow the incoming connection but will deny the outgoing connection. Unless the rule explicitly allowing HTTP to security group will deny the connection, the security group will allow the connection because HTTPS implies HTTP as well. Yes, unless we do explicit rules in security groups, they are denied. So if I opened HTTPS, which is port 443, port 80, HTTP will not be allowed. It's port traffic matching, so it matches the traffic to the port and only allows those connections that match the patterns. All right, next question. What is 10.0.0.0/16 an example of an IP address, a CIDR block, a security group rule, and an instance ID? And it's not the kind of CIDRs made of apples. CIDR stands for Common Internet Domain Routing, I think. Might be wrong. I hope it does. And the correct answer, of course, it is a CIDR block. That /16 annotation tells us how many bits in the 32-bit address have been reserved for the actual network. And each of these numbers is an 8-bit number, and it's between 0 and 255. So 8 bits, 16 bits. This is the network address, 10.0. And then all of these zeros can be up to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 255, etc. So all of these numbers can change for hosts on the network. /16 says this is not going to change. This is your network addresses from 0.0 to 255.255. Cool. Next question. Which key value pair can be used to describe an EC2 instance through custom content and metadata, EBS, definitions, policies, or tags? We want to describe an EC2 instance through custom content and metadata. What can we use? What key value pair can we use? $13, 14 responses now. 15. Yes, tags. Tags are the key value pairs where we can add custom metadata, custom information, and then also look for instances via those tags. We can describe the instance via a tag. I can say, look for environment equals prod tag and describe all of the instances that match that tag. That is a perfectly valid option. Next question. What is an S3 bucket? What is an S3 bucket? An optional organizational folder. Objects can be stored at the root of S3 infrastructure. A container for objects stored in S3. Every object is contained in a bucket. Or an alias for a folder within Amazon S3. Which of these is the correct response? Ooh, 16 responses. We have a new contender. Yes, a container for objects in S3. So you have to create a bucket before you can store any objects into S3. There is no option for storing any objects at the root of S3 itself. And let's do one more question, and then we'll do the leaderboard again. What is an S3 bucket? That is a really good philosophical question. Yes. It's a logical construct, Brandon, just like life, just like the universe, man. Logical construct. All right, which statement about S3 data consistency model is correct? S3 provides read after write consistency for puts. S3 provides strong read after write consistency for put and delete operations. Or S3 offers eventual consistency. And this is something that changed again a few years ago. I think it was in 2022 or 2021 or something like that. Amazon S3 now provides strong read after write consistency for put and delete operations in all regions. So as we create a file, it will be strongly consistent. There is no more eventual consistency in S3. So let's check the leaderboard. Let's check the leaderboard. Keen on top, 1,900 points. Mo, second place, 17,000 points, excuse me. Lucky, now again, Lucky moving up in the world of Marko's Trivia Night Cloud Practitioner. Sergeant Pepper, closely behind Lucky now. It's going to be a big battle there between those two. Bramazon in 5th place. Ooh. Sky Purple in 6th place. Ooh, though that's going to be another battle. Basically, it's Sky Purple, Bramazon, Pepper, and Lucky. And Cloud Nundrum as well. You're so close. You're so close. Everybody is so close. But I think Keen is very keen on winning today. Let's go. All right. Question number 26. I do hope we can get through all of this in this hour that I dedicated to this. Companies, data engineers have multiple subnets in availability zone. Where would they create a mount target when deploying a new Elastic file system? In one of the subnets, in all subnets, in all public subnets, in all private subnets. They have multiple subnets. They want to have a mount target for EFS. Where would you want to deploy them? Yes, mount target. A mount target will be deployed in one of the subnets. Although EFS is available in all subnets, we'll deploy a mount target to a specific specific availability zone, a specific subnet. So each subnet will have a different mount target with a different IP address of that subnet. It's a tricky question. It's a tricky question. I bet the leaderboard was affected by this one. Let's check the leaderboard. I'm really interested to see what's happening here. Keen on top. Mo Sergeant Pepper took it from Lucky, and Sky Purple moving into 5th place, taking Amazon's position. All right, next question. Which AWS service provides resizable compute capacity in the cloud designed to help developers with web scale computing? EC2, S3, or SageMaker? That's another easy one. It's another one that's kind of tricky, to be perfectly honest, because although we all know which service it's pointing at, there's another service that's a possible answer that does provide resizable compute capacity in the cloud. It's not designed for web scale computing per se, but it is designed for machine learning, and that would be SageMaker. So that would be still resizable compute capacity. But yeah, everybody gets this one correctly. Everybody gets this one correctly. All right, next question. A VPC peering connection can be established only between two VPCs, true or false? Ooh. And let's see the response here. 15 of you have responded. True, it is true. A single VPC peering connection can be established only between two VPCs. However, we can establish multiple VPCs across multiple peering connections. I can have a peering connection between VPC A and B, and a peering connection between VPC A and C. A will be able to talk to both B and C. C will be able to talk to A, and B will be able to talk to A. Yeah, next question. NAT gateways allow instances in a private subnet to connect to the internet. True or false? Woo, 8, 9, 10. "13 seconds to go." 16 responses here. Nice. All right. It is true. It is true. NAT gateways are tools that will allow instances in private subnet. They're basically like your router at home. It's got a public IP, and then it can do network address translation between that public IP and all the instances in the private subnets as well. Okay, let's do one more question, and then we'll reveal the leaderboard at 30, and then dive into the last 10 questions. What is an example of an EC2 instance type M5 large ARM64 web server or bucket? Excuse me, web underscore server. What is a type? What is an example of an instance type? We have 16 responses. Yep, M5 large is correct. M5 large, 13 of you got it right. EC2 instances will have a family like M or C for compute or R for memory intensive, generation, a number like M5, M6, M7, and then a size which determines the number of CPUs in memory from the instances themselves. And Ray had a question, but SageMaker uses EC2 underneath. Yes, technically it's EC2, but it's ML dot type instances. So you will find for SageMaker, you'll have ML dot M5 dot large, which is the same instance as an M5 large instance, but that SageMaker one has been prepared with all the machine learning capabilities that SageMaker uses. so that SageMaker can control it. Yes, yes. Well, technically, all of AWS is virtualized on EC2 instances. So even S3 buckets and DynamoDB and all of the other components that are shared to you as services really are just running on EC2 instances underneath, except they're not visible to you. We manage those instances. That's why it's a managed service. And an EC2 is an unmanaged service. And SageMaker is a managed service. And RDS is a managed service. Even though it's, with some you can see the instances, with some you can't. So that's why we have two types of managed services. Managed services like RDS and fully managed services like DynamoDB. Who knew, huh? All right, leaderboard time. Leaderboard with 10 questions to go. Keen, well into the 20,000s. Mo as well, and Lucky just passing 20,000. Sky Purple in 4th place. Oh my goodness, Sky. Sergeant Pepper in 5th now. Bramazon 6th. That's a big battle still. Sky Purple, Pepper, and Bramazon. Phew. The three of you are like so close, literally milliseconds apart, single-digit milliseconds apart. And then we got Jose, Cloud Nundrum, Joe Malone, and Mighty Jag as well in the 7, 8, 9, and 10th place. Let's do the final 10 questions. A developer would like to set up a simple low-cost static website that delivers HTML, JavaScript, images, video, and other files to visitors. Which action should the developer take? Create an S3 bucket and enable static website hosting, set up an EC2 instance and install WordPress, launch and use Lightsail to launch and manage a web server, launch AWS Elastic Beanstalk to configure a web application. You can do it with all of them. But which one is simple, low cost, and static? Yes, it is S3. S3 is the simplest, cheapest. It's a static website. If you don't need any processing, if you don't need server-side processing, that's the best option. And then all the other three will work. On the EC2 instance with WordPress, Lightsail will work, and Elastic Beanstalk will work as well. All right, what Amazon EC2 provide in the cloud that is secure and resizable? Storage capacity, database tables, compute capacity, or backup volumes? EC2, secure and resizable. What thing is it? What thing? This question is written kind of not very well. But yeah, these are questions from the question bank, from the default question bank that you can use and build. And I'm going to have a session on how to build these trivias as well at some point that everybody can join. Yes, it is secure and resizable compute capacity. Correct. Correct. EC2 is designed for compute capacity. EBS would be secure and resizable storage capacity. Next question. Amazon S3 Pockets policy sizes have a 20 kilobyte limit. True or false? Not a very well-known fact. Not a very well-known fact, but is it true or false? Is there a 20 kilobyte limit? All right. That is true. There is a 20 kilobyte limit. Yep, there is a 20 kilobyte limit for each bucket policy. And then that's why we have S3 access points to be able to apply multiple up to 20 kilobyte, up to 1,000 different access points, and each can have a separate policy as well. All right. We have 12 minutes to get through all of this at this point. AWS Identity Access Management users can belong to multiple groups, but groups cannot be nested. True or false? Can I make a group in IAM a member of another group? Is it true that groups cannot be nested, or is it false that group cannot be nested? Groups cannot be members of other groups. Only users can be members of other groups. So yeah, we cannot nest groups into groups. They're always top-level objects. Question number 35. Which AWS service can provide database credentials and send them to AWS Lambda function to connect and query the backend database service Amazon RDS, Shield, Macy, Secrets Manager, or Guard Duty. Provide database credentials and send them to Lambda functions to connect a backend service like RDS. Which of these services stores database credentials which are secrets? It is AWS Secrets Manager, correct. Shield is a DDoS protection service, so it protects you from denial of service attacks. Macy is a machine learning powered content identification system. Essentially, it scans your S3 buckets and can classify documents. And then Guard Duty is just a one-click service that protects you from all kinds of different types of attacks. It's like a one-click security service for all your accounts, all in one place. All right, we are at 35 to 40. Keen Learner, 26,000. Mo, 25,000. Sky Purple in third place, beating Sgt. Pepper right now by 30 points, by milliseconds. Sgt. Pepper, Lucky, also, you are very close. Bramazon, still in the competition for top 5. Jose, Cloud Nundrum. Ooh, Sugat B, you came out of nowhere and moved up into 9th place. Amazing. And then Mighty Jag in 10th place as well. All right, the last 5 questions. Whew. Lexicons provide additional control over how Amazon Polly pronounces words not common in the selected language. True or false? Amazon Polly. I included Amazon Polly here. That must have been me going through questions and just clicking on them. Yep. Well, this is the first time, so there will be mistakes. Obviously, the streaming format doesn't really work, but yeah, this is true. It is true. By default, RDS will retain a backup of a database instance for a period of 7 days. True or false? Oh, we already had that one. Now you can actually now answer it correctly since we already had this question and it's repeating. It's just written a little differently. And again, we're getting into the last 5 questions, so this is where the mistakes will become super obvious for something that I've done one time, the first time. Yes, like we said before, the default is 7 days of backup. You can do 0 to turn them off, or you can do 35, which is the maximum amount for the backups. All right, before we go into the last 3 questions, I want to just jump into the leaderboard. Keen, Mo, and Sky Purple. This is close. This is close. Sgt. Pepper, Lucky, and Sky Purple, super close. About 1,000 points behind Bramazon, and then a few more 1,000 points. Each question, if you answer in the first millisecond, is 1,000 points. So anything can happen in the last 3 questions. All right, question number 28. Data engineers want to update the total orders in their eStore application whenever they receive a new or canceled consumer order in DynamoDB table. Which DynamoDB feature can help? Streams, secondary index, global table, or accelerator. They want to update the total orders in their eStore whenever they receive a new or canceled customer order, meaning they need to subscribe to changes. How do we subscribe to changes? There is a data stream at the back of DynamoDB that can tell us which items have been added or changed or deleted. And that's something that's going to be available for 24 hours on DynamoDB streams. So we connect the streams and then we can update our app, update our order app for that one. All right, leaderboard before the final 2 questions. Keen, Mo, and Sgt. Pepper now in 3rd place, swapping places with Sky Purple. The question before last, 39, what is the basic component of DynamoDB? Collection, document, field, and view, tables, primary keys, foreign keys, and sequences, tables, items, and attributes. What are the basic components of DynamoDB? Ooh, 17 responses. That's everybody. 18. Ooh, we have one extra person now. 18 responses. And of course, it is tables, items, and attributes. That means that a lot of you clicked on the wrong one. Let's check the leaderboard before we go to the last question. Keen, Mo, Sgt. Pepper, still first three. Sky Purple, Lucky, and Bramazon following closely behind. All three of you are still in the play for the winning. Actually, Bramazon, you won't be able to get into the top three, but Lucky and Sky Purple, you still have a chance. And that's going to be decided by this last question. Amazon DynamoDB streams do not enforce consistency or transactional capability across multiple tables. True or false? This is a decider question. 8 responses, 9 responses. I'm assuming the top 5 at least have now submitted the responses. It's true or it's false. And let's see what the actual response is. There is no enforcement of consistency in DynamoDB. It is true. Only 4 of you got it correct. Now that might change the leaderboard entirely. Let's check the leaderboard. Keen Learner, first place, 30,000 points. Mo in second place, 28,000 points. And Sgt. Pepper in third place with 27,940 points. Yeah, it was difficult to beat Sgt. Pepper in that one because out of 27,000 to 27,940, that needed to be a correct answer. Sky Purple, Roy, you are in fourth place. Congratulations. Lucky, fifth place. Bramazon, Brandon, sixth place. Jose, seventh place. Cloud Nundrum, eighth place. Sagat, ninth place. And Mighty Jag in 10th place. Congratulations and thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. I have a survey. Right here. If you want to fill out the survey and tell me what you think about it, that would be really useful for me so that I can make this better. I know that the streaming format doesn't work. We'll do this next time with some kind of WebEx, with some kind of conference, so that we're all live, that we can all exchange things in real time. But yeah, that's where we're going to end it today. Thank you so much for attending. We're going to make this better. And in the future, prizes, people, prizes. Shh. All right. See you next time. Bye, everybody.